May Piku?
Yes.
What tribe are you from?
I'm from the Mi'kmaq tribe of Nova Scotia, Canada.
Hello, I'm Kimberly Acosta. Welcome to a special segment on the Native News Update called Violence Against Native American Women. My guest today is Denise Pictou Maloney, the daughter of Native rights activist May Piku Mi'kmaq from Nova Scotia, who was raped and murdered 34 years ago on or around December 12th. I want to thank you, Denise, for joining us today.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Can you share with us who your mother was and what happened to her back in December of 1975?
Well, my mother, May Piku born in Nova Scotia, Shubenacadie, actually registered at the Indian Book Band, is Mi'kmaq, and of course to me, she was my mother. And in around the early 1970s, she started. She was with a group called the American Indian Movement that she had joined in Boston, and traveled with them to South Dakota in 1972, 73, and took part of the Wounded Knee occupation there. And subsequently after that had stayed down there for a while and ended up being part of different protests, and was eventually labeled an informant, and then taken out, interrogated, beaten, raped, and then executed. And we're still waiting for justice 33 years later.
Wow. Can you give us a brief synopsis of what is currently going on with your mother's case, with the people that are involved?
Right now we have Arlo Looking Cloud has gone to trial, and he was tried in 2004 and tried, convicted, and sentenced to life in prison. And we're currently waiting for John Graham to go to court and be tried. He's currently right now, I believe, in custody down in the United States.
And there's Dick Marshall has also been indicted, correct?
Yes, Dick Marshall, and I believe Thelma Rios as well has been indicted as well, as aiding and abetting and accessory to first-degree murders.
And they're all part of the organization, the American Indian Movement?
Yes, they were, yeah. I don't know if they currently are, but they were back in the day when this all happened, yeah.
And can you share with us the kind of person your mother was in regards to how she helped other Native women and the things that she believed in?
Well, I mean, I was only 8 or 9 when we were with her last, so I really didn't get a sense as a child. You don't connect with your mom as a woman. So I pretty much have to go on stories that people told me and experiences I had myself. I think probably one of the most vivid memories I have is of my mother is when I was about 8 or 9, and she got down on her knees and looked me straight in the eyes and said, "Don't ever let anyone tell you that they are better than you are." And that, of course, when you're 8 or 9 doesn't really connect. You know, you're too busy playing and being a child. So it didn't really impact me until later on, of course, when I became a teenager and, you know, realized that things weren't always created equally. Specifically with me being Native and a woman, I did notice that definitely there was inequality issues out there. But when I talked to the women that knew my mother and that connected with her when she was Wounded Knee, one of the biggest things that I can remember that I kept hearing repeated over and over again was how much of a connection my mother had with the women, and how she seemed to empower them in some way, just with the way she sat down with them and did beadwork and talked about them with their children and talked about her children. And she seemed to really have a tight connection with them. And we always, you know, felt a certain connection with the women, and never really had an opportunity to talk to them until, you know, the last maybe 6, 7 years that we've had an opportunity to sit down and have a chat with them and had them fill in a lot of questions and a lot of gaps for us, and really helped us understand what happened to my mother and get down to the bare bones of what really happened to her with her murder, and that it really was a violent act that happened here against a woman. She was beaten, raped. She suffered indignities that no human being should ever have to suffer in the last 48 hours, the last 2 weeks of her life. And, it really helped us. There was a lot of healing going on when we talked to these women, because for many years we believed, like a lot of people out there, that it was the authorities that were involved in her murder. And, with all of the silence that surrounded this case for so many years, we really didn't have anybody that we could go to and talk to, and, that felt comfortable talking to us without feeling like they would somehow, in the end, have to pay themselves. I heard rumors of women being threatened with their babies' lives if they talked about my mother. So, that really hit a big note with me, because I do know that silence, tends to be one of our biggest challenges and hurdles in our communities. That loyalty, that blind loyalty that we have. And when you connect that to Native women who are raped and are missing and murdered, and all of these campaigns out there, for years, not a lot of people were talking about what was going on in behind closed doors. And I think really that's the biggest connection I can make between my mom and the missing and murdered women that we're campaigning for today.
And if you could leave us with one message about how we can help stop the violence against Native American women, what would that be for you?
Well, one of the things that when I listen to a lot of the stories that people talk about what happened with my mom, and she did talk. She did talk to family members. She came back shortly before she was murdered, and she spent some time here. I think she was here for 48 hours. It wasn't very long. It was just a couple days from what I can recollect. And, there was a lot of silence amongst the adults with us. So, we weren't made aware of what was going on. But I know that, there was a sense of loyalty she felt for these people. She was going through a rough time. Aunts and uncles that talked to her at that time say that they begged her not to go back because they really felt like her life was in danger. Of course, we were oblivious to all this going on, so I'm going on what they had told me. And, when she went back, people noticed a big difference in the way she behaved when she got back after she was here. They did sense the fear in her. So, I know she didn't necessarily have the opportunity to use her voice the way she probably could have if she felt that that was something that could be done, that people would listen to her and that people would, support her. So I guess the biggest message I would send out to people is to use your voice, because I think that's one of the most powerful tools that we have. And,
definitely.
And I think that goes without saying that, that the power of words can be awesome.
Well, thank you for joining me today and sharing your mom's story and everything. And just want to be able to, hopefully we can reach out to some women out there and that they'll start to use their voice to help, to start changing what's been happening over all these decades.
Yes, definitely.
So, thank you again. This is Kimberly Acosta with the Native News Update special report on violence against Native women here on Indian Country TV. Thank you.